Welcome to Devar Torah. I'm Megan Yates. This week's portion is portion 38, Korah. It's found in Numbers 16, 18 through 32. In this week's Torah portion, we find a man named Korah standing up against Moshe. Korah, along with 3 other men, lead the rebellion. Korah challenges Moses as the leader of Israel. Siding with him is 250 men who are leaders of the community. Korah's whole world is about to be completely changed. We find that answer in Numbers 16, verse 30. If the ground opens up and swallows them with everything they own, and if they go down alive to Sheol, then you will understand that these men have had contempt for Adonai. That sounds kind of harsh, but what sin did Korah actually commit? So was Korah actually challenging Moses, or was he challenging Adonai? Korah put himself in the same place that Satan had. Korah knew that Moses could not do anything without God's help. He had seen God's anointing on Moses. He knew that God had called Moses to be the leader of Israel. Korah's sin was thinking that he was a better leader of Israel than Moses with God's presence. Korah tried to make himself equal with God. The earth did open up and swallow Korah's whole household. The earth closed up and their existence in the community ceased. What about the 250 men that sided with him in the rebellion? They did not receive the same punishment for their sin as Korah. These men did not want to be equal to God. These men thought the only way to be closer with God is to be in a higher position. They gave in to the lies of Korah just like we give in to the lies of Satan. They took someone else's position even though they were all Levites serving God. They were not content on serving in the tabernacle. They wanted a higher position so they could be more spiritual or close to God. In a way, they got what they wanted, but it cost them their lives. In chapter 17, we see the 250 men bringing their fire pans to Adonai. They knew that when they offered the incense, God's presence would show up. So basically, they were on a suicide mission. They ultimately believed that if they gave their life for the mission, they would be closer to God. The men were burned up, but the fire pans became a cover for the altar. But we see in chapter 17 that the fire pans that they had were actually called holy by God. There are 2 ways we can take this Torah portion as a warning for ourselves. We must fearfully and respectfully remember that we are not equals to God. There's only one God, Adonai, and we are here to serve him. If we try to be equal with God, we will find ourselves being equal with Satan instead. Secondly, we must walk in the position that God gives us. We do not find ourselves more spiritual by being in someone else's position. Oftentimes, trying to operate in someone else's position will cause us to burn out, just like the 250 men burnt up. All the men in this story were Levites. They were all given the honor of serving God. They had a special place in his kingdom, but each of them had their own respective jobs. Because we are followers of Yeshua, God has given each of us a special position in his kingdom. Let's walk out the positions that God has given each of us to the best of our abilities.